The Philadelphia Eagles preseason is officially over after their third and final game versus the Colts, and in this game, there's a chance that the Eagles may have just about answered arguably their biggest remaining question ahead of the regular season. Plus, a few guys got their opportunity to perform with roster cutdown day looming in under a week, and with this being these guys' last real opportunity to prove themselves before that, a few guys really showed out and may have potentially earned themselves a roster or practice squad spot, while for others, it was a disappointing night, and their future with the Eagles might be in serious doubt. And finally, do the Eagles have some form of quarterback controversy for the QB2 spot behind Jalen Hurts heading into this year? Well, we're going to talk about all of that in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So the Eagles just had their final game of the preseason versus the Colts, in which they ended up losing 27-13. Now for the Colts, Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew both looked really good, and both put together really nice drives for the Colts offense, and they were really moving the ball all day, and they made it tough on the Eagles defense throughout the course of the entire game, so that loss gave the Eagles a final preseason record of 0-2-1. But honestly, literally nobody cares about that. What matters in the preseason is not wins and losses, obviously. It's really about how these games affected who will win positional battles and roster spots and who won't. And the Eagles' third and final preseason game versus the Colts undoubtedly will go a long way in helping answer those questions. And that starts with the safety battle, which has been going on ever since OTAs back in June, and it seems like we may finally have some sort of answer on who could start alongside the ghost Reed Blankenship when the season begins. Now obviously this battle has been extremely tight throughout the entire offseason, and it's been hard to tell who has had the upper hand in the competition at any given point. I mean, I feel like there's been times when each and every single guy in this competition has felt like they were trending in the direction of starting, but still we have no concrete answer on that. And of course the guys who are competing for this starting job are one, Terrell Edmunds, who had been a starter in the league for 5 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers and had been pretty successful. Then you have K'Von Wallace, a guy who started his career slow, but really seemed to come on during training camp this year and establish himself as a competitor in this race. Then you got the rookie Sidney Brown, who has a lot of people really excited and has many thinking that he could potentially be the future at the safety position alongside Reed Blankenship. And finally, Justin Evans, who kind of seemed to really establish himself in this competition late, but with it being so up in the air, he definitely has a real chance. Now after this preseason game versus the Colts, as I said, we may finally have some clarity on who will end up starting when the season rolls around. Now to start this game, the Eagles decided to roll with the pair of Terrell Edmunds and Justin Evans at safety. Now both those guys played for a chunk of the first quarter, and then they both came out towards the end of it. So then at that point, Sidney Brown and K'Von Wallace entered the game, and they both played for a really long period of time, with Sidney Brown playing all the way through the third quarter, and then Wallace, he actually played into the fourth quarter before he eventually got taken out as well. So I think that that's really interesting and important, to be honest. I mean, I still don't think a decision has been made yet on who will start, but from this game alone, it seems like it may be narrowed down to Terrell Edmunds and, pretty surprisingly, Justin Evans, because they were the two guys who started the game and then both were taken out pretty early. And if I had to guess between the two who has the edge, I'd have to say Terrell Edmunds. I mean, he's been a starter in this league for many years, and he's been a very solid player, and obviously I think when the Eagles initially brought him in, the general opinion is that he would end up starting, and again, judging by this game and the fact that he also started the team's other two preseason games before coming out early, it seems like that might be actually coming to fruition. Now again, I could be wrong, but this honestly just seems like the most likely scenario to me following the team's preseason finale. But what do you guys think? Who will end up starting at safety alongside Reed Blankenship? Will it be Terrell Edmunds, or will it be someone else? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now, while Edmunds and these other safeties were fighting for their chance to start this year, most of the guys out there versus the Colts were fighting for a roster or practice squad spot, and there were actually many guys who helped their case. And that starts with wide receiver Devon Allen, who really flashed on special teams in this game, as he had a 73-yard kick return on the game's opening kickoff, in which he dropped the ball initially but recovered, then broke a tackle before getting around the edge, where he flashed his Olympic hurdler speed to put the Eagles in incredible field position, and that ended up setting up an opening drive touchdown. And in addition, Allen also had a couple other returns that looked pretty solid, even though they didn't quite turn out as well as the first one. And he also flashed at one point on return coverage, as he flew down the field to immediately hit the Colts return man on a punt as soon as he caught the ball. So Allen definitely had a nice showing in this game on special teams, and if you recall, he had some nice moments in the preseason last year. Plus his speed really could be a weapon, and the Eagles are in need of some special teams help, whether that that being at returner or on kick return coverage. So honestly, I would consider giving Allen a spot. And at the very least, I think he makes the practice squad after this nice performance. And someone else who I think probably could have earned themselves a spot on the team or practice squad in this game was undrafted cornerback Eli Ricks, as after having a pretty nice preseason and a solid training camp, which included a pick 6 in the first preseason game versus the Ravens, he played pretty well in this game, getting 2 very nice pass breakups, albeit one being erased by a K'Von Wallace holding call, and Ricks also had some nice coverage throughout this game, so I really do think that he may have earned himself a spot with this performance. Now, another guy who helped his case on Thursday was wide receiver Deon Cain, who really hadn't done too much this whole preseason, but in this game, he was the team's leading receiver with 6 catches for 62 yards, and what was definitely a pretty solid performance for him. Now, it may be tough for him to actually get a spot because the wide receiver room is pretty crowded, and he really didn't do all that much up until this game, and he was dealing with an injury earlier in training camp, but he definitely did what he could, and even if it's not with the Eagles, he may have earned himself a spot somewhere else. And someone else who I think is in a very similar position is tight end Tyree Jackson, who, I mean, obviously he's been on the team now for a couple years as a backup tight end, and this year he had a solid camp in preseason. Now, just in this game, he had a couple nice plays as he ended up with a casual stat line of 3 catches for 31 yards, which obviously isn't great production, but if you did watch the game, again, he had a couple nice plays, and he continued to show that ability that has kept him with this Eagles organization for a couple years now. But still, the thing that I think is very clear is that, at best, he is this team's number 4 tight end. I mean, he's clearly behind Goddard, Stoll, and Calcaterra on this depth chart, so it's going to be hard for him to make the final 53-man roster, but I do think if he is cut, he'll probably end up on this team's practice squad, assuming some other team doesn't scoop him up. And someone I feel similarly about is undrafted linebacker VanSumeren, who quietly had a very impressive preseason as he led the team in tackles through those 3 games, and in the final game where he easily saw his most playing time, he led the team in tackles with 17, including 11 solo tackles, so he definitely made it really hard for the Eagles to walk away from him. I mean, VanSumeren's definitely a project. He only started playing linebacker in 2020, but his physical tools are crazy, and he posted some insane numbers at the combine, so if the Eagles can develop him over time, who knows, maybe he could eventually become a good player and turn out to be an absolute steal for the Eagles. Now, the final guy who made it really tough on the Eagles to cut ties with him is the very newly acquired linebacker Tyreek Maddox-Williams, who the Eagles literally just signed this past week, and I honestly thought that they signed him just to be a body to play in this last preseason game, and that was going to be it. But after Maddox-Williams posted 7 tackles, including 6 solo tackles, a tackle for loss, 2 passes defended, and an interception with a 42-yard return, he definitely made just letting go of him a really hard decision. Now still, he 100% won't make this roster in my opinion, but do I think he did enough to earn a practice squad spot? I think there's a chance, even though I do think it will be tough because he hasn't been here for very long, but at the worst, I think he probably earned himself an opportunity with another team if it's not with the Eagles. So now that we talked about the good, we got to get to the bad, as there were a few players whose chances of making this roster were hurt by their performances versus the Colts. So we're going to get to that and more, but just first, real quick here, I have to say, if you are enjoying this video and want to see others like it coming in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss when any future videos are uploaded. Around 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. If you're one of those people, you're enjoying the content, you love the Philadelphia Eagles, make sure you fix that right now. Go hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. And also, if you don't want to miss when I drop my Eagles hype video for this year, make sure you subscribe to the second channel, Philly Fan 21 Productions. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. Now, with that being said, let's get back into the video. So it had become clear as camp went on that the Eagles may end up having to make a very tough decision at running back, as they had 5 guys that all very well had a chance to not just be on the roster, but also contribute. But we knew that the Eagles probably don't want to keep 5 guys, meaning that more than likely there was going to be one odd man out, and after Thursday's preseason finale, it seems like that odd man out will be Trey Sermon. The Eagles' other top 4 guys rested, and Sermon played the entire game. Now, he got plenty of opportunities to not just fight for his spot with this team, but also to potentially earn opportunities with others, as he touched the ball the most out of anyone on offense, but sadly, he really didn't perform all too well despite his big opportunity, as he got 16 carries, but only ended up with 30 rushing yards and a measly 1.9 yards per carry average. Now, he did get a goal line touchdown, so that makes 1 touchdown for every preseason game for him, but still, not a very good showing running the ball from Sermon. Now, to be fair, the offensive line did not do a good job at all of giving him holes to run through. I mean, he barely had a chance on a lot of those plays, but there were also others where he just looked a little hesitant and he didn't hit the whole hard. Now, Sermon also got chances in the receiving game during this contest, as he was targeted 6 times, and he was actually solid there, posting 4 catches for 26 yards. Now that being said, again, it was overall still a rough day for Sermon, and his chances of making the roster are not looking very good at all. Now don't worry, he's still going to have a job. I'm sure the Eagles would sign him back to the practice squad if they can, but that's if he clears waivers, and there's no guarantee of that, so I guess we'll see. Now something else there's no guarantee of is undrafted wide receiver Joseph Ngata even making the roster or the practice squad, which is kind of a surprise considering just a couple weeks ago he was getting all this hype from training camp, as multiple people were saying he looked really good, and some even said that he was making a case to be the team's number 4 wide receiver. But now after the Eagles have played 3 preseason games, I'd say his spot is very much in doubt, as he really didn't play all too well in any of those games, although he did have some nice moments, but this past game was particularly bad, as he only had 2 catches on 6 targets, plus he had a drop in the first quarter and a fumble after one of his 2 catches on the day. I mean, it was definitely a rough one for Ngata, who after seeming like he was very much going to make the roster, I think he should now just feel fortunate if he gets a practice squad spot, to be honest. I mean, the upside's there, no doubt. He's got the ability and the physical tools. It's just tough because he didn't perform well in these preseason games, and the Eagles only have so many spots to go around. But what do you guys think? Will Ngata remain with the Eagles, whether that be on the roster or on the practice squad? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now, the final thing I want to talk about regarding this game has to do with the QB position. I mean, rookie quarterback Tanner McKee was once again very good, as he continued his impressive preseason with a 19 for 34 performance with 158 yards, and he once again was making very good decisions, and I think it's very safe to say that McKee, out of all the guys that played in this preseason, was very easily the best of the quarterbacks, and that includes presumed backup and veteran Marcus Mariota, who struggled throughout the preseason. So you gotta ask the question, do the Eagles have a legit controversy at backup quarterback? To be honest, I really don't think so at this time. I mean, we saw in this game that Mariota came in and played the opening series, which was just a 26-yard drive, by the way, that resulted in a touchdown, and then that was it. He came out, and McKee played from then and all the way until the 4th quarter. So judging by that, and Nick Sirianni reaffirming that Marcus Mariota will be this team's backup quarterback after last week's preseason game, it's safe to say that Mariota is going to be the backup heading into this year. But I do think that McKee has 100% earned his spot as this team's emergency quarterback, and if Mariota has to play and he struggles, I wouldn't be shocked if they turn to McKee, because he showed that he can play during this preseason. Then again, let's just hope that never happens, as I want Jalen Hurts out there for all 17 games, and that starts in just a couple weeks versus the New England Patriots when week 1 rolls around, and I just can't wait, man. So if you don't want to miss any Eagles coverage regarding the regular season or roster cutdown day, or just anything like that coming in the future, again, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. And also, if you did enjoy this video and want to show some support, make sure you drop a like on it and leave a comment down below. What did you think of the Eagles preseason finale versus the Colts? I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on anything that happened during the game. And also, make sure you subscribe to the second channel, Philly Fan 21 Productions, so you don't miss any Eagles hype videos or Sixers hype videos coming in the future. And also, if you want to watch this video recapping the Eagles versus Colts joint practice, you can go watch it right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.